Okay.
Great, thanks, Tom. Well, welcome everyone to May 9th, 2014's ECHO session in Assistive Technology. As you can probably see here, we have a number of visitors, and we're delighted they're joining us. A lot of them are members of the community of practice, and so those of you from the professional learning community will recognize the community bond, and they've been working together on transitions. So this is one of our communities. They're coming to see what ECHO is all about. We'll start with introductions here in the room. I'm Sandy Root Evelich, the Associate Director of Wind and the Director of Water and ECHO.
I'm Canyon Hardesty, the Coordinator of Community Education here at Wind.
I'm Mary Jo Cooley-Heidecker. I'm the Assistant Professor in Audiology and Speech Language Pathology.
I'm Darcy Regan. I'm a Speech Language Pathologist for Wind and Water.
I'm Tom James, IT guy.
We're eventually going to give him more to say. Michelle, can we go?
I'm Michelle Tynan. I'm the Executive Director of Uplift Wyoming and a member of the Community of Practice for Social Emotional Transitions.
I am Stephanie Fisher, and I am also a community member, and I am the Chipper Grant Manager for the Department of Health. And Lori Wesley facilitates the Community of Practice.
So there they are, Michelle, Stephanie, and Lori. And now Sandy, or Joe, so we can go over to you.
I think I'll be really close up.
And Tom will move with you.
There you go. Yeah, I'll just sneak in here. I'm Joe Haney. I'm a Coordinator of Special Education at Cathedral Home for Children, and I'm also a community member.
And I'm Sandy Hubert. I'm one of the facilitators for the Community of Practice for the secondary to post-secondary group, but today I have my Assistive Technology Advisory Board member hat on.
I'm Mary Ginsel, Occupational Therapist. I'm Brandy Brumman, Project ECHO. I'm Tiffany Dobler, Special Programs Division Administrator, and just here so I can help out.
Again, welcome to all of you who are visiting, and I think we actually have some visitors on the screen. Let's go down with the rest. We'll start with the districts. Bighorn 1.
Hi, I'm Chris Victor. I'm a speech language pathologist, and I do the assistive technology, or one of the people who does the assistive technology, Bighorn 1. Glad to be here again today.
Thanks, Chris. And she's one of our PLC. I don't think we have Park 6 on. Is that correct? Anyone for Park 6? Okay. Natrona 1. No. Sweetwater 2. No. Okay. Fremont 1. I see Casey.
Casey Woodhelm, Case Manager, AT Coordinator in Lander.
Teton 1. Okay. And by the way, Casey is a PLC member as well. Sheridan 2.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yep, that's how you do it.
Sometimes we have to unmute. I'm Annie Bowers. I'm a speech language pathologist in Sheridan, Wyoming, in Sheridan County School District number 2, also a part of our district AT team. And we also have Jamie Clifford. She's our compliance facilitator, and she's with us today too.
Welcome. And thanks, Annie, and she's a PLC member as well. Lincoln 2.
Kellen Bagley, Speech Language Pathology and AT, and Lisa Campbell, a high needs teacher, may be joining us shortly. And I'm also a member of the PLC.
Great, thanks, Kellen. Welcome again. We have a district visiting, Uinta. Can you introduce yourselves? Now, will you introduce yourself, please?
Are you speaking to me?
Yes.
Well, okay, sorry. I'm having a hard time with the audio volume. It's not quite loud enough, so I'm working on it over here.
Okay.
I'm Nina Germany Greer. Hi, everybody. I'm a speech language pathologist in Uintah County. And you don't have a picture of me. And after it's been raining and I've been outside for about 40 minutes, you just as well don't need a picture of me.
At least it's rain.
Well, sort of. It's rain for 7,200 feet. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of fat. So thank you so much for being asked to be introduced, and I'm glad to be here.
Thanks for listening in today. Let's go to our vision and hearing specialist. Can we start with vision?
My name's Leslie Bechtel Van Orman, and I supervise the services or vision outreach services for the Department of Education.
Thanks.
Leslie, are you in a car?
I am.
You're back in your car.
I'm at the Remount Road exit. I was hoping to make it to Laramie, but it didn't happen. I'm still 30 miles out.
And then we'll go to the hearing folks. Janine, can we start with you?
Sure. I'm Janine Cole, and I'm the supervisor for outreach for the deaf and hard of hearing with the Department of Education.
Great. Thanks, Janine. Christy?
Hi, I'm Christy Fritz, and I am also in outreach for deaf and hard of hearing up in the Sheridan area, and I am a teacher of the deaf.
Okay. Oh my gosh, we have a lot of you. Billy?
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. My name is not really iPad. It's Billy Wortham. Missed that critical step in entering my name. I am an audiologist with Deaf Hard of Hearing Outreach. I am in the Riverton office, WDE.
All right. And Jennifer?
Yep, we keep coming at you. I'm Jennifer Heiler, also with Deaf and Hard of Hearing Outreach out of the Cheyenne office.
That's great. We're glad to have all of you. Amy, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Amy Rushforth, occupational therapist from Lander, Wyoming, also certified orientation and mobility specialist, and found out that the Zoom is blocked on the school side, and I have 1 hour before this expires on my computer here at the school.
Oh, God.
After 3 weeks of trying to figure it out.
Oh, but I'll tell you, that's the best connection we've had with you.
Yeah.
That's
great. Oh, well, good.
And let's go to our trainers. Gail?
Hi, I'm Gail Vassar. I'm the lead trainer for the ECHO project. Get to work with folks like Darcy and set up the didactic sessions in the ECHO during the ECHO sessions. And I'm coming to you from the mountains of the Coast Range of Oregon.
And we're always glad to have you here. Tiffany just whispered, I wish I was there.
Well, come on down. You're welcome to visit.
Scott?
I'm Scott Martolius, a consultant in assistive technology based out of Wisconsin. And summer, or I should say spring, finally came here. We hit 80 degrees yesterday.
Oh. So, well, we're glad.
Yes.
Okay, and then we have folks from the U.S. Department of Education. Mark and Rob, can you introduce yourselves? I think mine is muted. It looks like it. I think.
Oh.
Okay, Mark and Rob, can you hear us?
Yes, can you guys hear us?
Great, now we can. Can you introduce?
Oh yeah, hey. Yeah, we were introducing ourselves for a moment. Sorry you can't see us again. We are at the U.S. Department of Education, and we apologize for that. But obviously, Mark Steinerman is on hand here in his office at the moment, and thank you once again.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rob. Okay. And did we miss anyone on video? If we did, raise your hand. Okay, I think we have. Oh, I'm sorry, Molly. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
No problem. Molly Hansen, Life Skills in Pinedale and part of the PLC.
Great. Sorry, I skipped right by your name. Okay, we'll begin with, Kenyon has some announcements first.
We just kind of want to real quick go over some ground rules. There's lots of new individuals here, and just so that everybody kind of is aware. And we have for the individuals here in the room, try not to shuffle your papers, all of those sorts of things that get picked up on the video. Another kind of video etiquette thing is, especially for those individuals on video, we really want you guys to participate, but we do need some kind of visual indicator. So kind of agreed upon is if you guys have a question or you have a comment, even in the room here, we want individuals to have that, but please kind of raise your hand and Sandy will note it down and then be able to kind of call on you to elicit that feedback. You know, don't be shy. Just because we're asking you to raise your hand doesn't mean we don't want this to be a really open conversation. The third thing I just want to address, especially because we have a lot of new individuals on here, is about confidentiality. All of our case information that we will go over after Darcy presents the didactic training portion, it's all de-identified information. However, we live in a small rural community, and that doesn't mean that we may not know of these individuals. We just want to ensure that everybody agrees that everything that is said during an ECHO session, that we maintain our confidentiality as much as possible. When Annie presents and when Molly presents, they're really good about talking about the student or using the ECHO case ID. Just so you guys are aware, if there are any sort of slip-ups, we remove that information prior to this presentation. So, didn't want to take too much time to go over those pieces, but just kind of, those common rules help us to go with the flow. The other thing that we just kind of want to do as a reminder is this is a really great opportunity for us to all learn. ECHO is set up for coaching. So, as we provide recommendations, if you guys can think of, how to implement evidence-based practices with some of these cases, we really want to encourage coaching. So we don't want to say, hey, Chris, why did you do that with this student? Or, hey, Kellen, why did you do that with this student? It's not about what was done in the past. It's truly about what we can all learn from what goes on with these particular students moving forward. Most of this information we went over during the orientation. As we said, there are new people here. We really want to make this a really welcoming environment so that people come and have lots of ideas to share and don't feel like they're at risk of getting pointed out for things they may or may not have done. Sorry, Chris and Kellen, for using as examples, but you're the easiest, nicest humans I know, so I appreciate it. Got it?
I guess the only other thing I'd add in that arena of orientation is just that the way the ECHO model works is it's a case discussions when we get to that point after the training, and then the folks in the districts, it's up to them whether they want to use that, what they want to try of those recommendations. It's all left in the culturally competent setting of the practitioner. So, yes, Tom.
So I just want to add, because there are some new people here, if there's any technological issues that, like for example, if you can't hear us, Kenny and I were just discussing the placement of the microphone, let us know. Even if you think it's minor, it's good to try and figure it out. So, and then also bear with me on the slide thing. We're going to go back and forth between a couple of things. So, but it's coming together pretty well. But feel free to say something if you got a problem. And either, you know, on your end, you have a question.
All right, thank you. And we'll begin with Darcy's part 2 of AAC integration. Thanks, Darcy.
All right. Pulling up the slides here for everyone.
Sure. Sound. Can everybody see the slides?
Okay.
Good.
Thank you. Great. My name's Darcy Regan. I'm a speech language pathologist at Wind and Water. And today I will be continuing my presentation from last week. And we're looking at educators, get out your roadmap, part 2, from the village of first words to the city of fluency.
Today's learner outcomes are to describe how to use core vocabulary, identify at least 3 strategies to keep data, describe at least 2 different AAC curriculums and approaches. And next we want to watch a language stealers video.
The language stealers.
What's wrong, Ed?
Nothing's changed. Still no A, A, C.
No reading. No writing. No talking.
Not for these kids.
Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Only teacher talking here.
Only labels on things here.
Only topic words here. Hi, Michael.
Gladiator. Oven, glove. Microwave.
Huh?
These words are useless.
What can we do?
I don't know. I can write everything I know. Core words.
No.
AAC, role model.
No.
Communication matters DVD.
No.
How to find words on my talker.
No.
Literacy.
No. No core words for you. No. Role models. No. Communication matters DVD. We will not learn to use your talker with you. And we don't teach literacy to over 16s.
You must overcome the language stealers.
Take the nouns down and put up core words.
Learn to match speech sounds to print.
Teach all of your friends. Don't leave anybody asleep in their wheelchairs.
Language is
Asking, telling, directing, correcting, arguing, tattling,
commenting, choosing, not just naming things. Now we're talking. We can say anything we want with the core words and word parts.
Teach us the code to match speech sounds to print. Teach us to decode, segment, blend.
Don't be a language stealer.
Put it in, get it out. Turn it down, up, on, off.
They come here. They make good things. We want to read. We want to write. We want to speak. We have the right. We want to read. We want to write. We want to speak. We have the right. We want to read. We want to write. We want to speak. We have the right.
I hope you all liked the video as much as I did. I used to have a student that would love it, especially the word no, no. So as the video said, every individual deserves the right to communicate. And there is a communication bill of rights that I use, and it just really highlights the fact that all individuals deserve assistive technology and to have assistive technology devices working. So last week I talked about AAC assessment, and we got to the caution sign, and today we're going to continue on the presentation when we move into the integration. And as you can see, we've got some detours and some roadblocks, but eventually we're hoping to get to that city of fluency. So let's see if we can get there. The video highlighted core vocabulary. And core vocabulary includes the most commonly frequently used words. Core vocabulary can include social comments, questions, continuing or stopping an activity, and even some repair messages such as the word oops. Core vocabulary lists include the vocabulary of other successful AAC users and are available through various sources. The Banji, DeCarlo, and Strickland article contains a list of core vocabulary for toddlers. Isaac, the International Society for Augmentative and Alternative Communication, has core vocabulary lists that can be downloaded, and the University of Nebraska-Lincoln has several websites for resources that include core vocabulary. Placing only words and communication symbols is not sufficient for beginning communicators because it's going to be hard to access those symbols in an automatic way, and you're going to end up with pages and pages of communication boards. Thus, you're going to result in very slow page navigation. Your page navigation can never become automatic, and being automatic is necessary for the journey to the city of fluency. By turning down this road, you run the risk of ending up in the wasteland of silence. AAC interventions that only focus on increasing participation during daily routines often focus on pre-stored messages. For example, a child might have a voice output switch to produce messages such as, "Can I have a turn?" or "I want cookie, please?" These interventions are good because they're flexible enough to ensure that the message can be correctly reinforced and the beginning communicator can get reinforced for their message. However, these pre-stored messages don't provide opportunities for making word combinations. Also, with the activity board, like you see on the right, the vocabulary can be limiting because the activity boards only contain a vocabulary that was anticipated for that particular activity. A beginning communicator can be on the road with a no outlet to fluency when only pre-stored messages are being used. What's the weather? Well, children are asked these types of questions with right or wrong answers given limited choices. True communication means that we don't already know what the person wants to say. There's a need for a social process to initiate and carry on a conversation. A pod book, a pragmatic organization dynamic display book, is a way of organizing whole word and symbol vocabulary into a communication book. The language of aided symbols using a pod book is much closer to the language that the child has spoken to them, and the communication intent and concepts are expressed in much the same way. With the pod books, you are modeling and using the book alongside the child. The goal of the pod books is to use continuous vocabulary all the time for a range of messages across a range of environments so that kids are empowered when they're talking about things that are important to them. Linda Burkhart and Gail Porter, the developers of the pod book, have many data tracking ideas online. And here is just a very simple idea how to track some data when an individual is first exposed to a pod book. Now, if you took a left at that intersection back on your map, well, you would be headed to the multi-symbol metropolis. On your way to the multi-symbol metropolis, you're going to enter the stage of icon sequencing. Now you're really picking up some speed here as your access to core vocabulary becomes faster and faster. The key is to access that core vocabulary with your consistent motor plans so that message generation becomes automatic. Automaticity cannot be achieved with single meaning icons, but with icon sequencing. The PICSOB project kit teaches the Unity icon sequences that are necessary for building sentences. Also, on the screen, you have a listing from the MinSpeak website, which again is in your resources, that teaches the icon sequences necessary to use the Unity language vocabulary. As your motor plans become more automatic and your message generation becomes quicker, it's time to speed down that IDEA highway. The speedometer of AAC is the measurement of communication rate in words per minute. The speed of communication is very important to people who use AAC. If we want our children to become fluent communicators, they must be fast and efficient at using their communication system. Welcome to the City of Fluency. The most effective communication possible to allow individuals to become successful communicators is the goal of AAC. The effective communication is based on fluency, allowing the individual users of AAC to become fluent communicators. This is our end goal. And now that we have arrived at the City of Fluency, we have reached the highest possible personal achievement. Next is an example goal idea that was taken from the textbook Practically Speaking by Carol Zangari and Gloria Soto. Pictured above is an idea for a student named Consuelo. Consuelo is working on increasing his turn-taking skills. This goal attainment setting does not look at just one outcome measure that Consuelo may achieve or he may fail to achieve, but it looks at 5 possible outcomes determined for each goal. The expected outcome receives a weighting of a 0 if he takes at least 4 to 6 turns, or a +2 if he takes at least 9 turns. Other examples of how to integrate AAC in the classroom includes the language acquisition through motor planning, LAMP training, which is based on neurological and motor principles. Also, the MinSpeak website, as I mentioned earlier, includes several examples on how to teach the icon sequencing. And the Dynavox implementation toolkit includes checklists on ways to observe AAC use in the classroom and the classroom environment. Teach Me AAC is an example of an AAC curriculum. Teach Me AAC is a web-based course that uses a manual book by WordMaker and a dynamic display by Toby, and it teaches that aided language stimulation, similar to the pod books in that you're modeling the use of symbols as you're speaking to that child. This curriculum also highlights core words and literacy. Scripts are another valuable tool in learning the event sequence of an activity as well as learning how to facilitate that interactive communication and conversational exchange. I really like an older book by Pamela Elder and Carol Goosens called Engineering Training Environments for Interactive Augmentative Communication. This book provides several no-tech overlays and scripts for activities such as shopping and cooking. And as I mentioned previously, the Pixon Project Kit we do have in our Water Loan Library includes core word techniques, aided language stimulation, as well as some manual boards. The Pixon Project Kit highlights the training of the icons used in the PrintKeyromic devices. You do have several resources of additional devices that are in our Water Loan Library, as well as the listings in our AT for All website, and ideas of how to use devices in communication. I would like to open the training up now for questions. If anyone has any particular questions on AAC integration, I know that was a quick snapshot in the limited time that we have, but I do know that it's a very important piece of integrating a device.
So we can begin here in the room. Does anyone have a question for Darcy? I actually have one. Because I know, Darcy, you've had success in districts, helping districts use the pod book for students. Is that also applicable for adults? I know this isn't an adult venue, but when we think about literacy after school, is that technique applicable for adults?
I think that you can apply the basic language learning literacy principles to any AAC system. right now, the pod books are designed primarily for your beginning emergent communicators. They do have topic-specific boards that are centralized to younger communicators, such as art, drawing, and painting sort of activity boards. However, the books are highly customizable, and I do believe that they can be implemented with an adult. It may take some more programming, where the way that the pod books are set up now is they're ready just to print out and use.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions here? Okay, Amy, you have a question?
Yeah, I do. With children that are really severely, profoundly involved, do you start with, you wouldn't start with a pod book as much as maybe from the communication matrix, right? And then considering their visual function status and then going from there. I mean,
Absolutely, Amy. Yes, we talked some about the communication matrix during last week's training, which is a wonderful tool to determine if that individual is even ready for AAC yet. And sometimes there's many of those prerequisite skills that could and should be worked on prior to introducing AAC. But the big emphasis of the pod book is to get that individual exposed to the aided language symbol environment. Because what most often happens is that communication partner is giving that verbal feedback to an AAC user, and that AAC user has a symbol-based system that doesn't represent the verbal language. Therefore, that AAC user is meant to problem solve these two different systems. Whereas if you're providing that exposure from the beginning, that's going to be most beneficial. It's like teaching a young child how to speak. We don't withdraw talking to them until we feel that they're ready. That young child's already exposed to 75,000 words within their first 1 to 2 years of life.
Right.
So that if an AAC user is only getting the verbal language without the use of that communication partner modeling the symbols, research shows that it can take that, if that person is only getting therapy 1 time a week for 30 minutes, it's going to take that AAC user 80 years to develop the confidence to use their system.
Right.
Any other questions for Darcy? Thanks, Darcy, and thank you, Amy. Other questions? Okay, we can always come back. Darcy will be here. Oh, Gail has a question. Sorry, Gail.
Darcy, I was just curious. It sounded to me like that video that we watched at the beginning was actually done using AAC devices. Do you know if that's true?
Oh, it very well could be. Not sure.
We'll have to check it out. That was very fun.
Janine, you have a question?
I have a question. I'm looking at the slide. I have my other computer here, and I'm looking at the slide with the pragmatic organization dynamic display. Darcy, do you know if there are more of those icons that also have the sign with them, or can you find that, I guess?
Yes, BoardMaker had an add-on for sign language, and that would include all the BoardMaker signs for sign language. Janine, I couldn't honestly tell you if that is still available as an add-on, but it may be through the Mayor Johnson website.
Okay. All right, thank you. I just thought even pairing it with the picture and then the sign or something. Thank you.
Absolutely, and as an individual, and again, research shows that as an individual is providing that multimodal input with sign language, symbols, and verbalizations, that the language concepts are comprehended much more strongly.
Okay, thank you.
All right. If there's no more questions, Annie, we're going to move to you, and this will be, let's begin our case presentations. This will be Echo ID 8629, and we will need need you to unmute or Tom to unmute you, and then you can begin. For those of you who are visiting, you do not have this information. As Canyon said, this is confidential, so this has only been shared with a few folks. But Annie will give you, as is the case, a summary.
All right, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Sometimes I've had problems with the microphone, so I just want to make sure. I'm super excited about this student, and to be able to share the student with you guys. This is an early elementary school age student. The primary area of concern that we're looking at is written expression. And our desired outcome in this area of concern is her ability to use writing, any AT options that you guys might think of, and to complete some written assignments. The desired outcome of the case presentation, just suggestions for structuring and using AT or other options and suggestions for the student with that written expression. This student is, I would probably say average ability cognitively. She's got a lot of information that she's unable to share. She's also hindered by mild CP, and that the doctors kind of go back and forth with that. And so her words are pretty distorted. It's getting a lot better, her verbal output. So we have tried various things. At first she was completely unintelligible, and obviously that's going to affect her writing. Now that she's gaining more words and able to make phrases, she has an iPad with Touch Chat HD on it. Now that she has that iPad, we've been using that to help her sequence some of her thoughts for writing, and then she's able to write those down. Her fine motor is great. The OT has worked with her for a number of years, and I touched base with her again this week just to say, how is this student, where are her fine motor? She used the word beautiful. So I thought that was cool. Her letter formation, the way she has a great tripod grasp. So it's not actually the act of writing itself. It's not a fine motor issue. What she'll do is we'll sit down. We use the Step Up to Writing in our district, and especially for our early and elementary students to help organize their thoughts. And she has difficulty. You can tell that she's thinking of words, but at times I almost feel like she's apraxic. And so like the thoughts get stuck and she can't verbalize them or even show us on her iPad when she has an idea. But when she finally gets it out and sequences that sentence in a thoughtful way, she goes to write it, and all that hard work that she did before was so laborious. Once she puts her pencil to the paper, she's like, looks at us like, oh my gosh, what did I just say? And so I have to tell you guys, she is fantastic. She is a light, and she has so many ideas to share with us. I'll tell you just a few things. We're trying, the iPad with the Touch Chat HD to sequence those sentences and try and help her with that visual. And that can be frustrating for her and time consuming to have to flip between pages and go back and forth. We've used the note, I don't think it's Notability, I can't remember exactly right now, I had it written down, where she can type in a message on the iPad keyboard, and our para has taken a picture of what she types out, and then we print that out and paste it to our Step Up to Writing form. So we've used that before, so that she doesn't have to actually do the act of writing. She doesn't have keyboarding skills right now because she's, like I said, in that early elementary population, and we don't have the opportunity for keyboarding at this time. But that's an option that I think our team and her family would definitely be open to. We're using lots of different pictures and visual aids to sequence her thoughts. So we're working on sequencing kinds of things to help her. We'll mix them up, and like she'll tell us the story. We'll have the pictures. She'll put it in order, and then we'll mix them up for her, and she has to kind of sequence them again and retell us. And we'll even take 1 to 2 word phrases from her, or even her giving us voice output on her iPad to help us communicate those thoughts. Sometimes it's just really difficult for her to come up with those words for sentences. She'll have motor planning. She'll have exactly the word that she's thinking of to tell us and to get ready to write. But it's like her writing is like her speech. So I don't know if that makes sense, but she'll she'll sequence the word, and for example, like if the word is bubbles in a story, and she'll be reading the book. She's probably reading early first grade level right now, which is great for her. The growth model is huge with her. And so she'll get to bubbles, and then she'll read the next page, and her mind is already motor planned to bubbles. So instead of saying, I'm rabbit or something like that that's different, she'll point and say, bubbles. And then she'll, no, 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 no. And she'll know that it's not the right word. So she's pretty fantastic. I don't know if that's enough for us to get started on. That's basically where her baseline is. So.
Okay, thank you, Annie. And so the overall question is looking for AT solutions to help her complete her written work.
Yes.
First, we'll ask if anyone has any clarifying questions for Annie before we move to discussing recommendations. Does anyone have questions for Annie? And if you're on screen, raise your hand. So Chris, you have a question.
I'm not muted. Great. Okay. I had a question. Annie, has this child had a language evaluation? I'm wondering about word finding, and I'm wondering about working memory.
Those are good questions. Her 3-year is actually coming up this fall. She has had a preschool language scale 4 about 2 years ago. She's been so involved with OT, PT, speech and language, and also her academic curriculum that that's a great suggestion, is to go further with her testing, and this fall would be a great opportunity for that.
All right. Mary Jo here in the room has a question. And I may have just missed this, Annie, so forgive me. What's her reading like?
She's early first grade level. So we have leveled readers, and she's reading at about a C.
So she can read the words that she wants to write?
Most of the time, yes.
Any other questions? Okay, we can open it up for discussion then. Thoughts for Annie? Gail, would you like to start?
Annie, this kid is the in some ways the child I've been wanting to meet, because I've been wanting to try the new Clicker iPad apps, and I haven't actually been able to use them with an individual child, but there's an app called Clicker Connect that's designed to help children connect words together in phrases. And there's also an app called Clicker Sentences that's designed to help kids put sentences together and then string the sentences together into, essentially paragraphs. I don't know if you remember, we talked about Clicker in another session, but you can associate pictures with the words. You can associate, you can set it so that you just click on one button and you get the whole phrase written into your word processor part. And the other thing is you can hear the words spoken. So that's a recommendation I'd have. And one of the things about hearing the words spoken is that there's some evidence that hearing the computer read the words out loud helps with some of that word finding issue. And that's individual. It's different for different kids. But as you were talking, I kept thinking, I want to come over and bring my iPad, because I got those apps on my iPad and try them out. So I don't know if Water has them or not.
Yes, we do.
Cool. Yes, and Clicker is one of Barb's favorite things to talk about. And unfortunately, fortunately for Newcastle, she and Wendy are hosting a demo days there, so they're not with us today.
Thank you.
Thoughts? Molly?
I would just second what Gail was saying. I have used the clicker sentences in my classroom with kids that have writing issues, and smiles on their faces when they're able to write those sentences. And I use, the fun thing is you can level the support that they get. So I have those who really need a lot of support and those who can pick out the words when they're scrambled and put them together into the sentence that they need to make. Really great for some kids.
Great, thanks, Molly. Billy, did you have your hand up? No, you don't. Okay. Scott.
Yeah, I guess I was going to add on to the clicker theme here that Gail started. Clicker sentences would be your very basic kind of like first app where you construct a sentence at a time. And then, as Gail had said, they came out with Clicker Connect in January, which is kind of the app where you can set up phrases within different columns, but they're still sequenced. But now the kids are no longer working on one sentence at a time. They can construct multiple sentences with the same grid. And then their thought would be, ideally then, if a student or an individual mastered that, they would be able to go on to their third app, which is Clicker Docs, which is going to be the writing app that would just have word banks and things like that. And that's kind of the sequence of the apps.
Great, thanks, Scott. Other thoughts for Annie? Let's go to Janine and then to Gail. Janine, hold on one second. We just unmuted you. Okay.
Am I unmuted?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm also thinking for the perhaps what might be helpful, and I'm also just Googled the Clicker app information, and the one I'm looking at is one with cooking. And it says something like, first put the butter in a bowl, next add some sugar with a spoon. But I'm thinking too, with a young child like that, is always adding, first of all, you want to get that background information, but even beyond that, having the child do that activity. And I'm thinking of a little one with apraxia, perhaps having done the activity, then going next to the app might be really, really helpful.
Thanks, Janine. Gail?
Well, just a couple of short things. One is it struck me as Scott was talking about those particular apps that they are in some ways a little bit like the pod books that Darcy was talking about earlier. It's a way of sequencing, in this case, written language instead of spoken language, but it's a nice connection to our didactic session today. And you can customize. I just want to make sure that you knew that you can customize the language and the content that goes into the use of those apps. So it's not just, they give you some examples pre-programmed, but you can also create your own depending on what the writing task is for the classroom.
Can you add video? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Scott could answer that question better than me.
It doesn't support video at this point in time.
Okay, I'm just curious. All right,
so you could use a separate video app to do something, but then they would have to go back to the writing app for the actual writing part.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Annie, have you used Classroom Suite before, like with an IntelliKeys keyboard?
No.
Okay, we have that in the water loan, and we have a set of curriculum CDs that were developed by Oklahoma's Assistive Technology Center, and they cover themes such as the monkey unit, the pizza unit, there's a weather unit. I ran the IntelliKeys and the curriculum CDs within Classroom Suite on a smartboard before, and they also have some good science and math activities, and we have all those in our water loan as well.
Okay. Thank you.
So, excuse me, this is Nina. I can't raise my hand. Can I come in now?
Please do.
Annie, this is Nina in Evanston. And
please look me up and call me if you want to talk to me separately, because I'm just going to list a couple of things. The first thing that occurred to me is to look at some of the Don Johnson software, especially the program called First Authors. That might be really effective for this little girl, and she would get a real kick out of it. You match pictures with structured sentence building, and it's pretty easy to use. You can build in word banks, or you can use the word banks that are available on the program. Both of the word prediction programs that are for older kids would also work with her, as long as she has some beginning consonant, vowel, consonant kind of recognition that you could preload on there for her. So if she wanted to talk about, I don't know, cooking or light bulbs, you could, you know, preload a bunch of vocabulary and then get it on with her in that direction. Another program I thought of is called Snap and Read, so that you can use real photographs of things, and it will read the signs off photographic signs to her. It will read virtually anything written that comes up on the computer out loud for her, and then she could use those very same words in her written language skills. And the other thing I thought of for mental cognition, sequencing of sentence structure, and language development would be any of the MindWing products that are more specific to the early reading programs. And MindWing is a real structured but very visual approach to sentence combinations for paragraph writing that will work with preschoolers all the way up to kids I work with over here at the high school. So those are just some short ideas. And then the other thing I thought of is that this little girl should learn the keyboard as soon as she can if she has good tactile sensation and good eye-hand coordination, because who gets good fine motor in some of these kids? Not very much. So that would be, I would teach her the keyboard real quick. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. Amy.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Speaking of the keyboarding, Handwriting Without Tears just came out with Keyboarding Without Tears program. Starts as early as kindergarten age. And it looks like a really good program. We're looking at purchasing it here in Pavilion, but I know the Handwriting Without Tears handwriting curriculum is so motor planned and, you know, so well-based in developmental skills that I can't imagine the keyboarding program is going to be any different. I didn't know if you were aware of that, Annie, that they had come out with a keyboarding program, but.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Amy. And Gail, I think you had your hand up again.
Oh, I love these discussions. I keep thinking of more questions. Annie, I was wondering if you feel like the instructional level that she's getting in her classroom, the writing instruction that she's getting, is appropriate. Is it the same writing that other kids need in that classroom, or is she behind compared to the other kids in the classroom?
She's behind compared to the other kids in the classroom. She's using some of the same models, but she's also getting pulled out quite a bit. She's doing the reading LLI, and then some of the writing is myself and the paraprofessional and resource teacher and classroom teacher have all collaborated to scaffold her learning off of her reading, especially for the writing. And so she's seeing the same models as what the other kids have in the classroom, but the cues and the support that she's getting is greater.
Okay. Thank you.
Darcy.
Annie, I have a couple copies of things that I had taken from a workbook. It's called Draw, Then Write. So I've done this with students before. They take it's real simple line drawing. You draw a hippo, you write it. You've got a word bank with different vocabulary. You fill in the word. And then you answer WH questions, and again you go back to your word bank, who or what, did what, when, why, and then you take all the answers from your WH questions and then you write a sentence, and then draw another picture, and then you write what the hippo's doing. So it's somewhat of an errorless learning activity in that you do have a word bank. They do still offer the draw then write workbook online. So,
oh, very cool.
An idea of another pencil and paper task.
Darcy, do you want to just hold one up?
See if we can see it.
Towards the camera. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
No, okay.
I'll send them. I have them on PDF.
Great. Thanks. All right. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? Well, thank you.
No, I
everyone.
just.
Oops, sorry.
Sorry, Darcy. You really made me think. If for older kids, we'd be talking about graphic organizers, and that's sort of what you've described there. I don't know that I've ever used graphic organizers with a first grader, but if her issue is really apraxia and memory for words, that's probably a spectacular idea, no matter what other tools we add in. So thanks for that.
That's an interesting connection, Gail. Any other thoughts or questions? Okay, thanks. I'll remind everyone who sent or gave recommendations to get those to Canyon so that you can get them all to Annie. And Annie, thank you for presenting. We'd love to hear back about this case. And then I know someone made reference to, I think it was Gail, talked about how one of the prior sessions discussed Clicker, and you know those are available. So if you don't know how to access them, you can contact Canyon or Brandy and they can give you those instructions. Let's move on. We have a case update, and this will be from Molly, and it's Echo ID 658. And there were a number that the initial question was regarding vision and fatigue related to the vision, and he wanted to increase her independence and self-advocacy. There were a number of recommendations, including iPad, text blocks, PC settings to adjust the font size and spacing, polarized sunglasses, wearing a ball cap with a visor, an eye report that would provide more clarity to this team. And you could introduce the use of auditory technologies to decrease the amount of visual work, build visual breaks into the day for the student, provide AT pointers for parents, of course, you know, one of our publications, thanks to Gail. And the student could potentially access audiobooks and headphones, consider energy conservation, and then consider an OT evaluation to identify sensory issues. So Molly, if you and or your team would give us an update, that would be great.
Okay, do you want me to run through the case at all, Canyon, or just go with it?
You may want to, just because there are a couple of new individuals on the line, just to kind of give everybody a little bit more background, and maybe you can adjust the presentation based off of some of the things you've learned. So,
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is a third grade student in a typical classroom. He has intermittent extropia strabismus, and we were looking at fatigue and attending behaviors. Some of the strengths were his receptive language skills and his family support and spatial awareness. He has other health impairment as the primary disability, with vision impairment as second. In the classroom for the majority of the day in a typical classroom, accommodations they had previously used was a speech to text using a Nexus and getting a larger laptop for reading. He was asking for break self-advocacy, had been using 3 color overlays, an aqua green and a purple all together, and that has helped the reading rate. Has a large screen computer available so that you can watch what's going on in the classroom, and has the smart board showing on his own computer. And on good days, he has about 20/20 vision to 10 feet. He underwent double eye surgery to realign his eyes September 2013. He had just gone to a doctor's visit, had had 13 hours of sleep and no one disturbing him all morning, and it was a very good eye appointment. The case manager reported one of the major issues is non-attending during class. The student would in a past year, they would concentrate for about 20 minutes at a time, but they were reporting that he's currently attending for 4 minutes. Before becoming distracted, he'd lay his head on the desk, become frustrated, would say things such as, "Oh, my head," covering up his eyes. The school goal, they want him to gain independence in attending for up to 9 minutes by the end of this school year. Let's see. Mom has noticed a lot of the fatigue behaviors and said that he never was one who liked to color or draw when he was young. He always wanted to be outside just doing things. Very physical child. And he was trying some lined paper at home where he could feel it because he was having a hard time keeping his writing on the line. Let's see. So now our recommendations. So there had been a possibility of using the iPad with a Join Me app so that he could see the smartboard access. We discussed it. We felt that he already had his own computer and then a large screen laptop on his desk, and those seemed to be working well. We were wondering about adding another, let's put an iPad in there as well. So we have not used the Join Me app for him. We have actually used LAN School, which the whole school has available to them, and all the students are able to access the teacher's smartboard on their laptops. Now, I, however, found the Join Me app to be wonderful, and I use a lot of iPads in my classroom, and one of my students went from not attending when we're reading stories, it has to be called on specifically, to holding the laptop and going, "Wow, it's the same." And so when we ask questions and we say, "Okay, if you were going to do this job, which tool would you use?" They show us on the iPad and then come up to the smartboard and make the change up there, and kept their attention very well. So I love that suggestion. We didn't choose to use it with a student, but I've used it in my classroom. I have the text blocks that was assigned to me, and I must say I have not made them yet. But we did find a similar program on the computer. It's called Cinema Drape, and you can create a text block, and it will block out the rest of your screen. So you can move it just like you would a text block that you would use on paper. You can have that on your screen. So we've introduced that to him so that he could block out and look at just those particular sentences as he's reading down a page. Really cuts out the distractions. I think it looks like a really great option, I think, for computers. And I had looked, I told our computer department, "We need this. You guys go find where it is because I can't find it." And they did. They came back with Cinema Drape. We checked on the font size and spacing between lines. His teacher did a Dibbles assessment, 3rd grade. She said she had all different sizes and line spacings, and then just took notes as he was reading. And at 16 points with 1.5 spacing with a Calibri font, he started reading more smoothly and with a greater accuracy. So they're going to be able to use that whenever he has a reading assignment. He could blow up the screen or change the font size to suit him. Mom was going to get some polarized sunglasses and a visor. I was not able to catch the teacher this morning to find out if that had actually, we've tried those yet. In the past, he had been wearing them everywhere and wanting to flaunt the rules, which we have a no hat policy. And so we went ahead and we said, okay, these are just for the classroom. You can't wear them to the lunchroom. You can't wear them anywhere else. It's just a toolbox here in the classroom. And so I think we're going to get past those behaviors which were concerning to everyone. We had the iReport reviewed. The way the report is written, I don't really think we can get more out of it. We probably would need to request a different type of assessment from the doctor who wrote it. We are looking into Bookshare for the auditory, and he said he does appreciate having a more availability to listen to books instead of having to read all of them. We talked about building visual breaks into the day for all the students, not just him. teacher was going to include that. I know we talked about looking at the computer screen, changing the background text for in Word or Google Docs, how to do that, where you can't have a color overlay on it. And our tech department went in and taught the whole class how to do that. And so he was really proud when I saw him. I saw him about 2 days afterwards, and he was like, yes, and other kids are doing this too, and this is what they color, and this one that had this color, and I like yellow, which was funny because he'd been using green and blue and purple, but he liked yellow, and he could change the font size. But we really appreciated it because Glenn had gone in and taught everyone how to do it, so it didn't single him out. And we've been looking at the energy conservation. We're definitely looking at that toward going into middle school, where we would be looking at how to schedule his classes so that we don't overload either the morning or the afternoon. And he will be getting an OT evaluation. I don't have anything more on that other than he has been using one of those inflatable seat cushions that you can have a little bit more movement on. And he came home and self-reported to Mom, I feel so much better at the end of a day. And just the accommodations that have been, he has been telling Mom, these are working. And he's up now again to 20 minutes of attending in class. And so after 10 minutes of attending, he goes out, does a little bit of sensory work for 2 to 3 minutes, and then comes back in and is focusing again. So that is my report. So we appreciate the ideas. They've been very good. Parents were so thankful and appreciative, and really felt like, okay, here's some other people, and they felt like they could be a little bit more forward in saying, we want these things implemented into a classroom because there was a team recommending it. So.
Well, Molly, thank you. We're of course very excited, and I think that this speaks to the multidisciplinary group that that attends, and so you're getting ideas from any number of avenues. Amy, you had a question for Molly.
Yeah, Molly, or just a suggestion actually. You're probably not going to get the type of visual information you want from an optometrist or an ophthalmologist, but if you have a TVI in your district, a functional vision eval, or if you have an O&M specialist, a functional vision eval would be probably the most helpful to you guys.
I think it probably would be, and I have talked to them about doing the Next Steps clinic.
Oh,
because
okay.
We don't have an O&M or a TVI, unless you want to come over.
Well, give me a call.
Leslie, did you want to add anything, or I know? Sorry. And you're muted, but Tom's unmuting you as we speak. Okay.
I just said no.
Oh, sorry.
No, Leslie was there when we were presenting this, and she and I were brainstorming. And she looked at the vision reports, and I appreciate Leslie's ideas because she was coming up with a couple extra that we got to throw at the parents and the team and say, hey, try this.
Great. Someone here have questions, thoughts? No? Okay. Any other questions or thoughts?
Molly, I just want to clarify, just in capturing outcomes. I remember that with this particular individual last time around, that the teacher was wearing a wrist timer, and every 4 minutes.
Every 4 minutes, yes.
Every 2 to 4 minutes attending, and I heard you say this 20. That the individual now is being able to attend for 20 minutes.
They're feeling comfortable 20 minutes. So we have ditched the buzzer at 4. So, yeah.
Nice.
And I think we also just discussed with them, these are behaviors you probably see when they are fatigued. It's not behavior.
Interesting. And I remember Leslie and some others pointing that out as well, talking about that. And just to associate with Canyon's question, this was originally presented on April 11th, so that's a remarkable increase in my mind in just 3 weeks.
I think so, and I loved hearing from the student that he felt like now he had more tools, and we created what we call a toolbox, and we've listed out all the, here's things that you can do, and he can bring in like the sunglasses and the visor, and they'll be in one place. So when he goes to the next teacher, he can take that box.
That's great. And I think the other key piece is, you know, the other applications. The one item that you didn't use for him, but you've used for someone else. And then the other idea that's being used for the classroom.
Oh, and I was just going to say, for whoever used the Join Me app, one thing we noticed, we tried Land School, which is a program we use here in the district. And for computers, the pictures came across really good. I tried it on the iPad, and it just washed out my pictures. The kids could not identify what the pictures were. Even what they appeared on my screen and what they appeared on the iPad were very distorted. Then I tried the Join Me app, and it was crystal clear. So if a student is accessing a smartboard by the iPad and is having problems with pictures, I would definitely recommend the Join Me app.
And Molly, can I also ask you to send us the information on Cinema Drape so I can share that with the group as well? I mean, that was one thing I noted that wasn't included that I think a couple of individuals would benefit from.
Oh, I think so.
Great. Any other questions, thoughts for Molly? All right, everyone. We will see you next week, same time, same place.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you.
Safely.